Is Qigong practice magical? That is going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. So hopefully within your Qigong practice, maybe all the time, or certainly from time to time, you'll have some pretty extraordinary experiences that feel amazing, and maybe that creates some big changes within you. And you might be inclined, when you have this type of experience, to say, that Qigong practice was magical. And I don't think there's anything wrong with using that term magical or magic in a figurative sense. In fact, I think it's quite healthy to have that sense of awe, of wonder, of appreciation, and even of curiosity about something that is so impressive and that perhaps you don't fully understand as part of that as well. That's quite healthy. Where it can become a problem is where people start to take that term or that way of thinking a bit too literally. They literally think it's magic. Magic in the sense of not able to be understood. That it goes beyond, things that we can have a comprehension of. Now, it's not a problem for it to go beyond what we currently understand. That's totally fine. And again, that's actually part of being humble, which is a very healthy attitude to recognize, hey, there's stuff I don't understand. And maybe I'm not able to understand it right now. No problem. But that's not the same as it is not understandable. When you start to think of anything in this way, and including Qigong, and some people are quite prone to this with Qigong, thinking of it as like literally magical, this then can stand in the way of you understanding. So it's one thing to think, to realize that, hey, I can't understand this right now. I don't understand it or can't understand it right now. It's quite another to think there's no way it can be understood, or even there's no way that anyone else can understand it. That can be very, very limiting. And to go beyond that, that then leaves people quite prone to manipulation. Other people doing magic on them, and becomes disempowering. In addition to this, it can also lead to a superstitious way of thinking, where you attribute the results of something, in this case Qigong practice, to the wrong things. There may be some very practical, direct reasons why a practice is having a certain effect on you, but if you think of it as magic, you might be caught up in some of the peripheral things that don't really have much effect. But you think, oh no, this is the important thing. I have to do it. I absolutely have to do it this way, and I have to have the eye of newt and the, I don't know, toad's leg, or whatever things. From old, stereotypical magical spells, we might come up with a similar way of thinking within our Qigong practices. Like, it's absolutely essential that I cross my toes and that I this and that. It's like, it's not actually the thing that's giving you the result. And so, it stands in the way of understanding and stands in the way of effectiveness of your practice, where you could actually become more empowered and have more magical, as in impressive and extraordinary experiences, if you understood what was actually causing them in the first place. So, a little bit of story time here. It's sort of an analogous story. One of my sisters, who I spent quite a bit of time with a few years ago, quite often when I would show up at her house, we'd find that there was something wasn't working properly. And in conversation, she'd be like, oh, that's not working, blah, 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 blah. And then I'd say, let me have a look at it. And very often, within a few seconds, less than a minute, I would have it fixed and working properly. And it became a bit of a running joke that she would ask, oh, what did you do? And I would say, it was magic. Because that was the simplest answer. And what that came down to, again, partly just because it was a running joke, and so it was quite funny. She thought it was funny too. That, like, you know, this thing that maybe she had tried to fix and other people had tried to fix and they hadn't managed to, and then I came in with some magic and fixed it. So that must be the answer. But there was a little bit more to it than just the joke, in that this particular sister, not all that technically minded. And so for me to explain what the problem was and what was required to fix it would have often required explaining a whole lot of underlying principles and things for it to make any sense. And so the easier answer was to say it was magic, you know. Now, sometimes she was curious and really wanted to know, well, you know, what was it? How did you fix it? And so even though the initial answer was just this joke that it was magic, I would take some time to explain, well, there's this, and you see this over here, and that was happening, and so, you know, I could tell that, and so therefore I was able to do this, and that was how I fixed it. And so it was worth putting the time in to explain, and, you know, and she at least temporarily understood a bit better. Again, not particularly technically minded, so I think maybe often doesn't actually retain that kind of detail. It's just not how she thinks. It's not one of her strengths. She has a lot of other strengths, you know, that are her thing. And again, that's okay. So back to our analogy from Qigong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong even with sometimes continuing to not understand how something works. And accept that, well, someone else understands how it works, and so they can give you good guidance and help in this. I don't understand it myself, but I know enough to know that it works. That's, again, quite different from literally thinking it's magic. It does make you much less prone to manipulation. It does leave the door at least open to sometimes go deeper and understand properly. And I think there's so much value. Again, not essential. You can do Qigong practices and just go like, hey, I really love the results. That's fine. But there is so much value sometimes when you have the inclination to go deeper, really understand how things are working, and get so much value from that. All right, I hope you've enjoyed the vlog. I look forward to seeing you on another one